to become a stripper? I see this question everywhere. Forums, Reddit, TikTok, and every single time I see it, I think, I understand why you're asking, but you're asking the wrong question. I'm Kay, I'm a sexologist. I spent 4 years working in strip clubs across Europe and the US, and I built a course specifically for people entering this industry. So today let's actually talk about it. Honestly, without the glamour, without the horror stories, without the nonsense. Let me start with how I got here, because I think it matters. I didn't start stripping young. I didn't grow up thinking this was something I'd ever do. For years, I had completely normal jobs, office work, nothing exciting. And at some point, I realized my life was genuinely gray. Work, home, repeat. No hobbies, no real direction. And honestly, I was broke. I needed money. That was real. So I started digging into myself, into what I actually wanted, into what I was good at. I'd always loved dancing. Nights out just for fun, just because I loved it. At some point, I started training seriously. 5-6 times a week, different styles, different coaches, trying everything. Around the same time, I was studying sexology. Not to work in a strip club. Just because human psychology and sexuality had fascinated me since I was about 14. I was reading about it obsessively, and while I was learning, I was applying everything to myself first, working through my own patterns, understanding my own limits, understanding how I related to other people. I was also working in sales, which taught me more about human behavior than almost anything else. And slowly, through this whole chain of things that felt unrelated, at the time, I arrived at stripping. Because I wanted to travel and earn simultaneously. That was my goal. I wanted to see the world and have the freedom to do it on my own terms. And yes, I needed the money, and stripping delivered exactly that. I'm telling you this not to make my story sound special. I'm telling you because the way I arrived, gradually, with a lot of internal work already done, with a clear understanding of what I wanted, is exactly the reason the industry gave me opportunities instead of damaging me. I saw what happened to people who arrived differently, and that's what this whole video is about. Here's what I see people obsessing over before their first shift. Will I be accepted the way I look? Do I need a BBL? Should I wear a wig? What if I'm not the right body type? How do I prepare for the audition? I read these questions constantly, and honestly, they exhaust me. Not because appearance doesn't matter at all. It does. Confidence is a part of how you carry yourself, but it is not the first question, not even close. The first question is, why do you want this? Not in a psychological way, practically. What do you actually want from this industry? Money? Freedom to travel? To build savings for something bigger? To meet people you'd never meet otherwise? To explore a side of yourself you've never had permission to explore? All valid. But you need to know your answer, because stripping is an industry built on opportunity, but also on pressure, rejection, competition, and temptation. And without knowing why you are there, you will lose your footing fast. The second question is, what's your psychological foundation right now? Because this industry will test it every single shift. In one night, you might hear no 20 times in a row and not break. From people who are rude about it. From people who ignore you completely. From people who came in already attached to another dancer and won't even look at you. Rejection in this industry is not personal, it's mathematical. But if you haven't done the internal work, it will feel personal every single time. And that wears you down fast. Beyond rejection, there is competition between dancers. There are colleagues who will test you, especially when you are new. There is management that ranges from genuinely respectful to exploitative. depending entirely on where you are. There are guests who think that being in a strip club means the rules don't apply to them. You need to know before you walk in what your limits are, what you'll accept and what you want, how to hold your ground without creating unnecessary conflict, how to protect yourself physically and psychologically. I half joke when I say a few self-defense classes might serve you better than pole lessons at the start, but only half. And then there is the thing nobody warns you about, the seductions of the industry itself. Not just alcohol, not just substances, though those are real, the seduction of spending. Money comes fast in this industry, and the lifestyle pulls. Everyone around you is spending, the nights are intense, the highs are high, and some people step in and never quit, find their way back out. Not because they were bad people or made bad choices, but because they weren't prepared for how much the environment asks of you. I want you to go into this with your eyes open, not scared, open. Because the industry can be genuinely extraordinary. It gave me 4 years of freedom, travel, financial independence, and experience I couldn't have had any other way. But it asked something of me first, and I was ready to give it. So how do you actually become a stripper? You start with your why. You do the psychological work. You think seriously about safety, physical and psychological. You learn how the industry actually works, the different system in different countries, the unwritten rules, the etiquette. And then you walk into audition, which I promise is far less scary than you've built it up to be in your head. Clubs want dancers. That is their entire business model. Everything I just described, the psychological preparation, safety, how to choose the right club, how money actually works, how to protect yourself, that's exactly what my course, The Key Project, covers. 8 weeks, built from 4 years of my own experience and my background as a sexologist. Link is in the description. If this resonated, drop a like, it helps more people to find this. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I'll see you in the next one.